If you're a creative, a performer, an artist who's feeling stuck but has dreams of making it big, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to craft a vision for your dream life and career with specificity so you know exactly where you want to end up. Because let's be real, how can you make it if you have no idea where you're going? The thing is, most artists live in kind of a la fairyland where they work hard but without clarity or intention. And that's why their wins are rare, random, and fleeting. And I should know. I've been a professional performer for 16 years, and just like you, I was stuck going round and round in circles until I started to have all the revelations that I am now putting into this, the entrepreneur artist, so that I can help other artists and creatives like you get unstuck and finally build the career of their dreams. So most artists can tell you what they don't want. I don't want a 9-to-5. I don't want to feel drained. I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck. But they're not specific or deliberate about what they do want. They, just like me before I started this journey, were not building with any strategy. But that can change, and this video is going to give you the steps to do it. Oh, and this is all backed by science, by the way. All right, here we go. Step 1, start with the destination. You have to start with the vision, not with where you are now. The order of what you choose to focus on first matters. And here's why. Quite simply, because dreaming about where you want to be is fun. It's energizing. It's expansive. When you define your dream vision with specificity, it becomes an anchor, something worth working towards. And it gives meaning to the effort you put in, the uncomfortable bits, the boring bits, the repetitive bits. It's kind of like when you want to go on vacation somewhere that you've never been before, and so you take some time to just scroll through the vlogs, the photos, to the point where you start picturing yourself at these dream destinations by the beach, by the Eiffel Tower, whatever it is for you, and getting excited about it, living in that space where you imagine yourself already there before you check your bank account. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be checking your bank account, but having that clear and vivid image of what you want to do and where you want to go then motivates you to save up for that ticket. Basically, you have to see it and you have to let yourself want it. And what you're doing is you're building belief by focusing on the dream outcome first and not on the current struggle. And that way, when you do look at your current reality, it doesn't feel quite so heavy because now you've got a goal to work toward. But if you start the other way around by fixating on where you are now, honestly, you'll likely give up before ever getting to the good part. You won't even make it to the point where you daydream and you get that vision. And that vision, that's what sets everything else in motion. And yes, like I said before, this is backed by science. There's a psychology professor at NYU called Gabriel Oettingen, I think that's how you pronounce it. And she developed what's called the WOOP method. WOOP stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. And she found through her work that starting with the wish or the dream, the vision, increases motivation and leads to more consistent action. In other words, you don't get unstuck by obsessing over your current problems. The first step to getting unstuck is to imagine something better for yourself. Step number 2, storyboard your success. Now that you've let yourself see it and want it, this is where you start to get specific. Saying, I want to be successful or I want to make it in Hollywood is not enough. In your vision, what does your dream day look like? Where are you? Who are you working with? How much are you making? This isn't just about dreaming for fun. Again, there's actual science behind why getting specific actually works. So your brain has something called the reticular activating system, or the RAS for short. And that basically acts as the filter between your conscious mind and everything else that exists around you. Basically, it decides what is worth paying attention to in your environment. Without the RAS, we would be overwhelmed and unable to cope with the amount of things that we would be taking in moment by moment through our senses. So what actually happens is when you get clear on what you really want, and I mean really clear, really specific, your brain starts to recognize patterns and clock the things that match the details of the dream or the vision that you have. It's like when you buy a car and then all of a sudden you notice everyone is driving that one car, even though you may have never noticed it or seen it on the roads before that. Or when you learn a new word and then all of a sudden you start hearing it all the time. That is your RAS doing its job. So that same thing is what happens when you define your vision in detail. You start to notice opportunities, people, ideas that were always there, but you didn't take note of. Your brain never flagged them before because it didn't know they mattered. Research shows the clearer you are on your goal, the more likely it is that you'll take action. Studies in goal setting theory conducted by Locke and Latham have shown that specific goals, not vague ones, lead to higher performance and stronger motivation. And again, to feed into our earlier point, the more you can visualize a goal, the more it strengthens your belief. Your brain ends up rehearsing the outcome like it's already happened. Athletes do it, performers do it, and you can do it too. So write it down, say it out loud, storyboard it in your mind, and ideally put visual reminders around you whenever you can, because quite simply, if you cannot see it, you cannot build it. Step 3, reverse engineer the dream. Once you're clear on your vision in all its detail, you now start working backwards. If that's where you want to end up, what has to happen before that? What kind of work should you be doing? What kind of skills do you need to build? What does your life need to look like to be able to get there 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 6 months from now? Don't overcomplicate it, break it up into chunks. This is how you take this big picture that feels unrealistic and turn it into something that you can actually act on. This is really important because without this step, without doing this, everything you're dreaming of stays in fantasy land. And this is where a lot of people stop. So they'll dream it, they'll write it down, they'll do collages on their walls or on Pinterest, and that's it. They don't map it out. They don't sit down and ask, what needs to be true 90 days from now to get me closer to my goals? And again, there is a reason that this reverse engineering works. The same psychologists from before, these dudes, Locke and Latham, again found that people who set specific and challenging goals perform way better than people with vague goals. But here's the kicker. When those bigger goals are broken down into sub-goals, people are more likely to take action, stay motivated, and follow through. This is called goal hierarchy. You guys want some more science? Well, there's also implementation intention theory by Peter Gollwitzer from NYU. And he found that people who plan when and how they'll take action, like for example, in the next 90 days, I'm going to pitch myself to 10 agents, I'm going to update my show reel and shoot 3 monologues. These people are way more likely to succeed than people who just say, my goal is just to get noticed. So if you don't reverse engineer the dream into something that you can do this week, this month, this quarter, it's very likely not going to happen. Reverse engineering forces you to turn desire into direction. So sure, write out that final vision for yourself in all of its details and then break it up into yearly milestones, 90-day sprints, and weekly priorities and actions. This is the key to going from dreaming to building. Otherwise, and we've all been there, the dream just sits there looking pretty, but nothing actually changes. Step number 4, choose your vehicle. So now that you've got the vision and you've got the steps, you need a vehicle. And no, just working hard is not a vehicle. When I say a vehicle, I mean a way for you to fulfill your goals. What is the channel? What is the medium that is going to enable you to go from point A to point B? So many artists I know are scrambling, trying to do everything at once. They're posting on 6 platforms, auditioning for things that don't align with what they're trying to accomplish, chasing random low-paying or free gigs that don't really get you anywhere. And they wonder why nothing's moving. I just want to say that this is something that I personally struggle with. I'm someone who in the past has constantly struggled with being busy over being productive. The number one thing that we all need to realize is that focus, just like energy, is not an unlimited resource. The research to back this up comes from psychologist Barry Schwartz. He calls this the paradox of choice. The more options you have, the harder it is to choose and the less satisfied you are with the thing that you finally do choose. Basically, if you're trying to do everything, you're probably not doing any of it well. And then there's Essentialism by Greg McKeown. This is not a study, but it is grounded in behavioral research. And he shows that high performers don't try to be everywhere. They choose a few things and they go deeper because repeated focus leads to mastery and mastery leads to results. I've got another bit of science to back this up, so stay with me. The same applies for deliberate practice, which is put forth by cognitive psychologist Anders Ericsson, who said improvement and growth come from deep, focused effort over time. If you're constantly switching lanes, you'll never go deep enough to build skill, credibility, and traction. And this is why you need to choose one way to get you where you want to go. Because scattered attention leads to scattered results. So when you focus your time and energy into the right platform or medium, that's when things start to move. So you have to ask yourself, what's going to get me seen? What actually builds my body of work and expertise? What helps me make money while I build my career? And when you can answer those questions, that's your vehicle. For me, it's all this. I believe that every single artist needs to become and operate like a business in order to succeed in the industry and not just focus on the art. The art is only part of it. The rest of it, understanding business, marketing, sales, branding, all those things, those are the things that will get you, me, and anyone else who implements this to their final goal. This is the vehicle that I'm using. And that's why I invite all artists to join me here on this channel to watch me implement this in action. This is happening in real time. I am teaching and I'm applying in my real life, and I'm bringing to you the things that work and the things that don't work. I've asked myself these questions, and this is the vehicle that I've chosen. Whatever you decide to to do, whatever vehicle you believe is going to get you to where you want to go, choose it, zero in on it, commit to it. Don't get distracted by every single shiny idea that comes up out of nowhere. Pick a lane, not 10. Step 5, filter everything through the vision. So now that you've got a clear picture on where you're heading, it's time to make decisions based on that. And that means learning not to say yes to everything. Again, this is something that I personally struggle with because sometimes an opportunity will present itself, but even though something's a good opportunity, if it takes you away from your main goal, you shouldn't follow it. Once you divide your attention, it automatically takes you away or at least slows down your progress. So when something else does come up, you have to ask yourself, does this opportunity actually move me closer to where I want to be? Or is it just filling up my time and keeping me busy? And believe me, again, I know this is harder than it sounds. Most people say yes out of fear. The fear of missing out, the fear of letting someone down, the fear that they might be wrong if they say no. But that constant second guessing, being a slave to your fear, will cause you to lose momentum and stay exactly where you are. But when your actions align with your long-term vision, you end up being more motivated and less burned out. And that is what self-determination theory by Deci and Ryan says. This theory shows that people are more productive and fulfilled when their choices reflect their core values and not external pressure or random opportunity. Constantly being unsure of what to say yes or no to also contributes to decision fatigue. Basically, the more decisions you have to make in the day, the worse the decisions you make tend to be. So if you're constantly saying yes to things that don't align, you're draining your energy on stuff that doesn't matter, leaving yourself with less energy for the things that do. Research on value congruent behavior shows that people who make decisions based on their own defined values and goals, these people are more resilient, consistent, and confident over time. So bottom line, when you do filter your decisions through the bigger vision that you have for your life, you reduce overwhelm, you gain clarity, and you move faster. It's not about being unnecessarily picky, it's about protecting your direction. Again, energy is a limited resource. So if you waste it on things that don't matter, you're gonna burn out and you're not gonna get anywhere. So start saying no and start making choices that build your career, not someone else's version of success. If it doesn't move the needle toward the life you are building, it's probably a no, as extreme as that may sound. Step 6, make it visible and emotional. You can't just think about the vision once and then forget about it. You gotta keep it in your face. Write it down and put it somewhere visible. Record a voice note that you listen to every day. Build a vision board, a collage, and put it somewhere in your room. Whatever works for you. Just make sure it's something that you revisit regularly because life will life. You'll get busy, you'll get tired, you'll start questioning yourself, and on those days, you will need a reminder as to why you're doing everything you're doing. This is not about manifesting your reality. This is about staying connected to what matters. When you're having a tough day or a tough moment, you have to remember that you are not hustling for the sake of it. You are building something that actually means something to you because you feel it in your bones that this is something worth fighting for. So yes, you do need a clear emotional connection to the life that you're creating and something to bring you back to it when it gets too hard. Something that I personally do a lot is mental rehearsal. So mental rehearsal is when you vividly imagine your goals. There have been studies in sports and performance psychology that show that mental rehearsal actually activates the same neural pathways as actually doing the thing. So when you're constantly seeing the life that you want, your brain considers it a rehearsal and keeps you ready for the real thing. So make sure you don't lose sight of your greater vision and don't just see it, feel it, imagine that you're actually there. If your vision is not emotional and regularly visible to you, even in your mind's eye, it will fade. But if it feels real and you keep it front of mind, your brain will still stay locked in on it, even on the hardest of days. And finally, step 7, adjust, don't abandon. Just remember, your vision isn't set in stone, and it shouldn't be. As you get older, your dreams may shift, not because you gave up, but because you evolved. You got clearer. Maybe the thing that you thought that you wanted doesn't fit anymore. Maybe you outgrew it. Maybe you realized you were chasing someone else's idea of success or empty validation. You realizing that and correcting course is not failure. That's evolution. There is real power in knowing when to adjust. It is not because you are quitting. It is because you are growing. 2 psychologists, Rosh and Miller, call this adaptive goal adjustment. Their research shows that people who can pivot and readjust their goals instead of rigidly clinging onto something that no longer fits, they have lower stress, better emotional health, and more consistent motivation. And of course, Carol Dweck's work on mindset backs this up as well. She found that people who believe that their goals and abilities can evolve tend to be more resilient. They bounce back faster, they try again, and they don't take setbacks quite so personally. If you think that your dream has to stay the same forever, you're actually more likely to get stuck or give up entirely. But if you let it grow with you, you're more likely to stick with it even when the path gets messy. So just remember, adjusting your vision isn't failure. What it means is you're paying attention to yourself. And the goal is never to cling to an old idea or version of success. At the end of the day, it's about staying committed to building a life that feels like it's worth building. So yeah, tweak the dream if you need to. Update, refine, but never abandon the idea of building a life that lights you up. And I have to say, be careful that you don't shrink your vision just because it's not happening fast enough for you or it's taking longer than than you thought that it would. If it still matters to you, if your vision as a performer, as an artist, as a person still matters to you, stick with it. Stay in the game, even if the plan changes. So there you go. That's the breakdown to get a clear vision that you as an artist can actually work towards. And if you've been feeling stuck or aimless in your career, or you're just at the start of the road, I hope this gave you a way forward that actually makes sense to you. And if this information is great, but you want a little bit more help or support applying this into your life and your career, I invite you to check out my school community, The Entrepreneur Artist. It's a private online space for performers, artists, and creative icons who are just done winging it and want to build something real. And as always, your support is appreciated. If you like this kind of content, lots more is on the way. I would love it if you'd subscribe to the channel just so that I can help build this community and help more people just like you.